Okay, good afternoon / good morning. Today we're just going to go over the homework, and I'm going to assign you new homework for the weekend that will be due on Monday. Remember that your M&M lab is going to be due today at 3:15, so get that in. So let's go over this homework. Okay, starting with number 2, because we already did number 1. Sample of radon-222 is allowed to decay for 11.46 days. How many half-life periods went by during this time? So, 11.46 days. I've got to look up radon-222. So I'm going to go over here to table N and find radon-222. Here it is. And that's 3.823 days. 3.823 days. So if I take this and divide that by 3.823, this is going to equal roughly 3 days. Sorry, 3 half-lives. So how many half-life periods went by? 3. What is the fraction remaining after this many days? So, if I start with a whole, after 3.823 days, I end up with a half. After another, I have a quarter. And after a third, I have 1/8. Okay, so that's half-life. After a certain period of days, you have half as many radioactive atoms as you started with. Okay, so there are the answers for these two, 3 and 1/8. How about number 3? 1 gram sample of francium-220 is allowed to decay for 110 seconds. How many half-life periods went by during this time? So I have to look up francium-220. And francium-220 is right here. It is a half-life of 27.4 seconds. 27.4 seconds. So, if I divide this by 27.4, I'm going to get, what, 5 or 4? Let's look in the calculator. Oops, 110 divided by 27.4. 4. Okay, so this rounds to 4 seconds. Sorry, 4 half-lives. So how many half-life periods went by? 4 is my first answer. What is the fraction remaining? So if I start with a whole, I get a half the first time, quarter the second, 1/8, and then a 16th. So I start with a whole, half, quarter, 1/8, and 1/16. What mass of francium remains after 110 seconds? Well, we started with 1 gram up here. So if this is 1 gram, this is a half a gram, this is a quarter gram, half of 0.25 is 0.625, and half of that is 0. Let's check that, 33015 or something like that. 0.625 divided by 2, 3125, 0.3125 grams. Okay? Basically breaking that down by half each time. Number 4, 32 gram sample of iodine-131 is allowed to decay for 40.35 days. 40.35 days. Iodine-131. Well, let's go back over here. Iodine-131, half-life of 8.021 days. 8.021 divided by 8.021. 8 times 5 is 40, so it's pretty much going to be 5. Okay? How many half-life periods went by? 5. What fraction remains? Same thing, except I have 5 half-lives this time. There's 1. Now each arrow represents a half-life. 2, 3, 4, 5. What fraction? So I start with a whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th, and 32. Okay? So 32. And that's it for that one. All right, number 5. After 36 seconds, that many grams of nitrogen-16 remains. What was the mass of the original isotope? 36 seconds. So here's my 36. Nitrogen-16. All right, let's find nitrogen-16 in table N. Nitrogen-16 is right here. Nitrogen-16 has a half-life of 7.13 seconds. 7.13. So I'm going to divide this by 7.13. 7 times 5 is 35. So this is going to have, excuse me, this is going to have 5 half-lives. So after that period of time, this much remains. So in this case, we have to start over here because it says that that's how much remains is left over, right? So 5 half-lives. I'm just working backwards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. So there are my 5 half-lives. So in this case, I just have to double it going back. 6.25 times 2 is 12 and a half. 12 and a half times 2 is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. 50 times 2 is 100. And 100 times 2 is 200. So there I am. What was the mass of the original? 200. So 1 half-life brought it to 100, then to 50, 25, 12 and a half, 6 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Let's try this last one even though I didn't assign it. After 15.78 years, cobalt 60. So let's look up cobalt 60 here. Cobalt 60 is up here. And its half-life is 5.271 years. 5.271. This one on the calculator, I'm going to guess it's going to be 3. So it's 15.78. 5.271. It's 2.99, so we're going to round that to 3. 10 grams remains. So this is the same thing. So I'm finishing with, sorry about that, finishing with 10 grams. How many half-lives? 3. There's 1, going backwards. There's 2. And there's 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3 half-lives. I ended with 10. So this is going to be 20, this is going to be 40, and this is going to be 80. what was the original isotope? It really should say how much was the mass of the original isotope. So we're going to start with 80 and then go through 3 half-lives. Okay? So that's all I wanted to go over was the homework and show you what the homework for tonight is going to be. It's this sheet. I can't show you the whole thing because somebody already wrote on it. It's the half-life worksheet. And I want you to do number 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5 of this sheet. All right? If those done, we'll go over it on Monday. And then we'll have another Zoom. The Google meeting, only 2 people showed up, unfortunately. But if you're feeling confident about stuff, that's okay. All right. I'll see you on Monday.